Johnson is the co-founder of Jambo John, a website development company dedicated to building websites that help people grow their businesses. Sarah's unique experience with sales, psychology, and human connection give her the ability, along with her team, to create a product that harmonizes three components of website development, including technology, storytelling, and graphics. Sarah helps entrepreneurs and small business owners clarify their purpose, create successful sales funnels, and grow a base of raving fans. She believes that our whole community is improved when we individually choose excellence in our given field. Marketing is simply a way of connecting with your raving fans to the people who need you most. So we are really excited to have you on and have a great discussion today about how to use the power of storytelling on social media, on our websites, and in our email marketing to inspire action and create connection with our audiences. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to dive into some right brain information that'll hopefully help you be successful with all the sales implementation and the technology that we've talked about today.
Yeah. Well, I want to point something out here just to talk about, frame this conversation a little bit. I went to Hawaii for the first time this year, and that flight is long and boring and uncomfortable. And you know what? Nowhere in my decision-making process did I think through how terrible the flight is. I was just excited to go to Hawaii. And I think this is where we get off in our sales sometimes, is we are so focused on the features and the benefits and the process of what we do that we forget that it's all about the destination. And that's really where we get to guide this conversation to. So
yes. I'm so excited you said that, because I am going to talk a little bit today about brain psychology and why storytelling allows you to bypass people's filters so that they're willing to listen to the features and benefits. But
so let's jump into that. Let's jump into that, the psychology of storytelling, so that you can get deeper in the conversation. I love it.
Yes. Okay. So you have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. I'm going to ask you guys some questions. If you're listening, you can type in the chat. Amy, I'm going to ask you some questions. Maybe you know some of the answers. So our subconscious mind is like the computer that runs our body. And our brain is designed to do two things. It's designed to keep us alive and to use as few calories as possible. Your brain doesn't know if you're having a real problem, quote unquote, like what the caveman did, like the bear's actually coming to eat you, or the problem of like, my Wi-Fi is down and I might die. Your brain doesn't know the difference. And so number one tip for you guys today is that you have to simplify your message. You have to. Amy, what's your guess? And if you're listening live, tell me what your guess is. How much information does your subconscious brain process every second?
I feel like I've heard this. Isn't it in like the 40,000 range? It's higher?
Way more.
120,000. I'm just making stuff up.
11 million bits of information a second.
Wow.
It's crazy, huh? Okay, your conscious mind, how much information does your conscious mind allow you to see? What's your guess? A second. Per
second?
Huh?
Well, I have heard that you can only hold on to 7 bits of information at one time.
Awesome. And I'm not a brain scientist, so I've heard 50 bits of information a second. Right? So I want you to think about, like, we use Facebook every day, and all we see is like, what's your post for the day, right? But then there's all these rooms and rooms of code. So in order for your message to be received by the consumer and take action, it's 0.00005% chance that you'll make it through that filter. And the filter is the reticular activating system. It's about the size of a pencil on the back of your head. In order to make it past the filter, your message has to be simple, and it has to solve their problem. If it's simple and it solves their problem, what happens is that the subconscious mind says, oh, we have to know that information. Tell me more. Tell me how. How much does it cost? What do I have to do? And that's the kind of customer you want, right?
Absolutely.
To say, yes, give me that information.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we simplify the message and use stories in order to get through to the subconscious?
That's a great question. And storytelling is an art. I've studied storytelling for 20 years. I've written books. I've written thousands of pages of web copy. I'm going to give you the boiled down, simplest formula. You're going to be able to remember it tomorrow when you wake up, right? It's not a 21-step formula. It's not a 9-step formula. It's a 3-step formula. So easy. It's easy enough to use on social media. It's easy enough to use on email marketing, on a website. Number one, you have to describe the before. So describe whether it's a moment that you had or a moment that you're describing that you saw for a customer or somebody like a child or a mentor. What was the before like? What was the ordinary like? So if we're going to tell a story about how our business is helping somebody, a company get through the pandemic, what was the ordinary like before the pandemic? Mm-hmm. Step number 2 is we're going to describe the transition. A transition could be described as a problem. It can be described as an explosion. Like this worldwide pandemic is probably the best example of a big problem. But most likely those changes, those moments of change for people happen really deep inside. Mm-hmm. And it might have been like a pain that was thrust upon them that they can't ignore. Or it might be that they were in so much pain in there before that they're starting to willing to take change. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Step number 3, I want you to describe the after. Describe the new normal. Describe what it was like. And if you're selling a product or service, you have to position yourself in the storm. You have to position yourself so when somebody's in that mode of transition or an explosion, that they know who you are, that they know you're empathetic to their problem, and that you have a solution. And the story can paint the picture for after. What does it look like after? Because of your solution, because of the product or program that you put into place that's helping them make that transition.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got the 3 components of the story. How can you give us some examples of companies that are doing this really well, that they're telling their brand story really well?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to give you a company story that's a local company, a smaller company, and then I'm going to tell you guys a couple of big brands that you'll be able to recognize that have done this really, really well. There's a customer of mine that lives in Southern Utah, and he's a cellist. And so as we were creating a website platform for him, we were talking about, cost of lessons and how many lessons he gives per month and what's included and, what the parents have to do. And it's like, that's awesome. We need that information, but not yet. Tell me what's happened. Tell me the stories of those like small moments. And so he told me the story of this little boy. He was 6 years old when he started taking cello lessons. And can you imagine like this little tiny kid with this big, huge instrument?
I play the cello, so I can totally imagine.
And like they're so cute because they're in a tuxedo for the recital. You know what I mean? Like, it's so cute. And this little boy loved lessons. He practiced the cello. He was progressing with his music, and he was a really good student. But he was terrified to play in front of anybody. He was so scared to perform that he did not take Suzuki. Are you a Suzuki cellist?
I started on Suzuki. Most of us do.
Right? But he didn't want to do the end of the book recital, even for grandma and grandpa. So he's like, I can't do Suzuki. So like, that's fine. We'll just do regular cello lessons. And so 3 years goes by and he's progressing. He's doing really well, but he's doing traditional lessons. Well, one day he's 9 years old now. He comes to his lesson and he runs and he's like, Peter, his teacher. Peter smiles big as his face. And he's like, you would not guess what I did. And he's like, what did you do? And he said, I played the cello in front of my whole school.
That's awesome.
And he was just beaming. And so I'm thinking about, as a mother, I've got 4 kids. You've got 5, right?
Yeah.
I have a set budget of time and resources to help train my children to grow up to be functioning adults, to be brave and to be resilient and to be willing to be heard and to be practice and have self-discipline. And do you know what that story is doing for me? It's saying, you know what? I want all those qualities for my child and I'm willing to invest. I don't care if I have to practice with my kid every day because I want them to be brave enough to show up and be seen in the world. Mm-hmm. So that's an example of a small moment that can be used to sell your product or service.
And I want to point out too, notice these are testimonials and the power of your testimonials. I know we've talked about them several times, but it's so much more than just, I helped this person make this much money. It's the story behind the transformation and the change, the emotion, because that's what your clients relate to.
Yes,
what they want.
And this might take some digging. This might take some strategizing, like as you're creating your sales system, putting some systems into place to find out from your customers the before and after. Because sometimes if you're providing a service or you're selling a product, you don't know what their life was like before or how it transformed after. But it's really easy to do that. And people who love your product or service will be willing to give you that information.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So share with us some of the bigger brands that maybe we're familiar with.
Oh man. Did you guys watch the Thanksgiving Day parade?
No. My dad hated parades. Like he is the anti-parade person. So I just never grew up watching them.
Totally okay. Totally. It's a tradition at our house. And this year, ChickfilA nailed their ad. So go onto Google and type in ChickfilA Thanksgiving Day Parade ad about time. And you'll notice the before and the explosion and the after. And it was all about this little girl who she was asking her brother, hey brother, come out and build a snowman with me. No, I can't, I'm playing video games. Hey mom, come build the snowman with me. And they're like, no, she's on the phone working. Hey dad, and he's on the computer. And so she's really sad. She walks past a grandfather clock and all of a sudden there's this cat that walks into the clock, kind of like Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe. And this little girl walks into the clock and all of a sudden she's with Father Time. And he's talking about time and how valuable it is and how important it is. And he hands her this little red envelope that's sparkling. And he says, go give this to your mom. And so she comes back through the clock. And she's like, Mom, you would never believe I got to just went at this clock and there's this guy. Blah, blah. And they're like, what is that envelope? And they open up the envelope and it's an invitation to spend 1 hour together. And then the after is a shot of all 4 of their family members, mom, dad, brother, and sister outside building a snowman. And the call to action was to go to a website and sign up for a free invitation for time to spend with your family for the holiday. And I didn't even know it was ChickfilA until after it happened. I was like, man, that's so cool. And this is what happened after for my family. I watched that and I was so inspired. Number one, because I was inspired with their really amazing storytelling. But as a parent, I own my own business and I'm busy, right?
Yeah.
The next day it snowed and I was like, you know what? We're going to spend time outside. And so I took my kids out, we bundled up and we made a Beyblade snowman. It was like a Beyblade arena out of snow.
Nice. My kids love Beyblades, my little ones. Awesome. Very cool. Okay. Did you have a second one that you wanted to share?
Another one that I wanted to share was Legos. You guys are like Lego fans? Legos. Okay, so Legos are bricks. You look at them together. And the reason why 10-year-olds buy duplicate Lego sets is because of stories. So the Legos are the same thing. We collect bins and bins and bins of Legos, right? But a new story will come out and we'll have to get the new set because there's a new story. So you'll see on the Lego aisle, there'll be one bin that's like a generic set of Lego bricks.
Yeah.
And there's 2 full aisles at any big box store that's going to have, this is the Harry Potter story. This is the bad guy from Spider-Man. Now they're doing girl stories, which is so awesome. My daughter loves Legos, but Lego is a really good example of product marketing with just stories.
Yeah, I agree with that. My kids are constantly wanting, and they're all like $100. It's like, oh, I want this Lego set. I want this Lego set. I'm like, can't we just buy the ghetto bin? You just build whatever you want. But no, they want the story. I totally agree with that.
It's totally the story. That's what sells Legos.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we bring this into our websites and into our marketing?
That's a great question. Okay. So for your website specifically, this is really important. You only have just seconds to grab somebody's attention for them to stay long enough to do the thing to get in the sales funnel, right? And so it's really, really important with your website, the very top header banner, I want you to show a picture of the resolved outcome of the problem you solve. Okay. So the words we're going to describe the problem because we want to connect with that really easily. But the photo has to show the resolved outcome. So Amy, let's use you as a guinea pig. What's the resolved outcome for your clients when they hire you and the resolved outcome, what does it look like?
Consistent, predictable sales.
I love that. So what does that look like? What would the picture be?
It could be, honestly, to me, that picture is freedom. Like somebody actually having freedom and not being stressed about their business all the time because it's consistent and predictable.
Yes. So it's the dream. It's the trip to Hawaii after the long, boring airplane ride.
Right.
Or maybe it's that college fund, or maybe it's the cello lessons. It's the resolve outcome, right? And then the text has to showcase the problem. So in fourth grade terms, what is it that you do? Really, 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 really simple, that, you know, a little tiny kid can know exactly what you do. And then you can start putting the pieces together on your website of the before and the challenges that come about and the solution and the benefits and the cost to that solution.
So is it the problem or is it what you do? Because those are a little bit different. So the problem is most small business owners have inconsistent sales. Like some months are good, some months are bad. That's the problem. And so do you recommend that they talk about the problem, or is it problem first and then what they do, or is it what they do and then the problem? What's the best order?
So what I'm finding with that main header image, the hero bat, like the text, that 7 to 10 word billboard that you get, I really try to focus on, if somebody were looking for a solution on Google to this problem, what would they type?
Okay.
So that's kind of my basic, like, struggling with consistent income as an entrepreneur. That's kind of long, but you're talking to them, making it all about them, because people don't have enough information, like brain power. Your solution isn't their solution until they know that you're empathetic to their problem.
Yeah.
So like how are they thinking about it? But you can also use your content to describe the solution and the problem at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can say, struggling getting your grass to grow, we sell grass seeds. You know what I mean? Like really, 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 really simple, so that you can activate that brain that allows them to see your story.
And do you like video on the homepage of the website to kind of dive deeper into the story? Yes,
absolutely. Video, there's some statistics by Google saying in the next 2 to 3 years, 70 to 80% of search results will be video.
Yeah.
It's huge. And a lot of people want to be able to see the video without the sound on. So getting a transcription service where you have the text over your video is a really great way to capture somebody's attention and keep them on your site for long term as well.
Yeah, isn't that crazy how often we watch videos without the sound on? And it's like, I do it, and then I think, why in the world am I doing this? It'd be so much faster to just read it, or so much more enjoyable to listen to it and watch it. But no, I'm sitting here watching it without the sound off and reading those little words that go across the bottom. But we do it all the time. It's so bizarre.
Well, and people can get, you know, in 10 seconds of video or 15 seconds of video, they can see your body language. They can see how you speak to people. They can see your environment. They can see maybe a client interaction. There's so many great videographers that have really cool systems. But the nice thing about the technology today is you don't have to spend thousands of dollars. If you have a good microphone and a good light, you can use your phone and make a video on your device.
Yeah, and if anybody wants a connection with a great videographer for those, I have he's so fantastic and so affordable. Hit me up.
Awesome. So, I just love that.
Yeah, and he's actually local to you, so you guys could connect. You could probably use him for some of your clients that need those videos.
I love that.
Okay, so how is the best way for our audience to get connected with you if they want to work on getting their website to do a better job at telling that story?
Thank you for asking. My website is jambojon.com. Jambo is Swahili for hello. And now you know. Isn't that cool? And on there, I have a class that's 9 ways to use your website to grow your business. And that allows, we talk about technology, we talk about content, and we talk about graphic design. So you're welcome to get that free class. And then also, please find me on LinkedIn, Sarah Johnson with Jambo John. I'd love to connect and build that relationship and see how we can collaborate.
Awesome. Well, we are so grateful for you coming on and sharing your expertise with us. Thank you for being here.